Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to our third session of our first virtual CTW series. This is our last session of this series. Today we're going to be talking about high school tennis, and leading us through this discussion is going to be Jane Trinkle, our schools and community tennis coordinator. And so Jane, it's all yours.
Thank you, Michael, and hi everybody. I can't see you, but it's very nice to be on the call with you and looking forward to discussing high school tennis and the resources aplenty that we have to offer high school coaches and their teams. I'm very fortunate today to have two fantastic co-presenters, Ms. Julie Chapman, a junior program coordinator from Corda in Columbus, and Mr. Dave Newhart, the director of racket sports at Green Island Country Club, as well as our former USTA Georgia president and current USTA National High School Tennis Committee member. So we're in good company. We have a lot to cover. I'm going to try to keep things moving, not too quickly, but if you have questions, please put them in the chat. We'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. And I have one favor to ask at the end, nothing too major, but just a heads up on that. So to get started, thank you to Darren, Potke, and Amanda for putting a focus on high schools, probably close to a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. The main focus has been to reach out to high school coaches. In your community, you may know coaches that are coaching high school. Some of them are avid tennis players, love the sport, know everything about tennis, can't get enough. And other high school coaches you talk to, it's basically they were in the wrong place at the wrong time and they drew the short straw. So they're standing in there with their Tennis for Dummies book and, oh my gosh, what do I do? That's where we're trying to reach out because the resources we offer help the full gambit of coaching experiences. Basically, I always get asked, well, what do I have to do? How much time is it going to take? Well, really not a lot of time at all. The main thing we ask you to do is to create an account that is free on USTA.com. We do have some coaches that were with us when we were on netgeneration.com. That is now on USTA.com. The good news is that they've continued to register their school. Their login and password from netgeneration.com will work on USTA.com, saving them a step. If they're new coaches to our resources, they'll go on USTA.com. Our website, USTA Georgia, has a high school page. That high school page has the link to a very detailed PDF that will walk the coaches step by step through how to register their school team on USTA.com. And if they have any problems, and I know you all are busy doing the wonderful things you do in your communities, please refer them to me or to Amanda or anyone in our schools department, Fiona. We are here to help, and we really want them to be a part of this because it's a lot of wonderful, useful information. So the other thing they want to know is, do they have to go through Safe Play? Well, because they're part of a school program, they've been background checked by the school, they are not required to complete the Safe Play process. This is a yearly registration for the school. The school registration period runs from July 1st through June 30th. So we are now gearing up for renewals. Renewals are very easy. We're happy to help if they need help renewing with that as well. But it does, take some hand holding to get them to renew because they're busy. It's the end of the season and all that type of thing. So that's basically what their requirement is to just log in and, share their experiences with us, and a lot of good things I'm going to talk about in the next couple of slides. So once they've registered for their account, it doesn't take long for them to get an email from USTA saying your account is active. They log into USTA.com. They can go to the Coach and Organize page. They can get to the Tennis Tools Center, which in the Tennis Tools Center has a lot of different categories like serve tennis and officiating. But for the purposes of this presentation, the primary thing is the Tennis Tools Center, which takes them to the resource library. Within the resource library, they have an option. They'll see PE and school team. They can select school team, and that will take them to the digital curriculum and the assets that are specifically designed or focused on high school and middle school tennis. The first of which is our school team tennis manual. Again, it is digital. They're able to download it. If you're not familiar with what that manual is, some of you may be very well familiar, so I won't spend a ton of time, but an overview is there are practice plans in there. There are warm-up ideas. There are pretty detailed charts, even for someone like myself who is not a professional teaching professional. That's easy for the coaches to understand. The other part that I've heard back from coaches that they like are scenarios similar to, what if you're one coach on the court and you have an uneven number of players? What do you do? Or I'm the only coach today. We've got a brand new team. Some kids are great, good skill level, and some kids are beginners. What do I do with those kids on one court? There's also, if you have a large number of kids and you're by yourself, what can you do there? Or how can you, divide and conquer to make it a useful practice? And it, again, tips on really making it a fun experience for high school players. So the manual is, is a great asset. And again, it's free to our coaches with signing up on USTA.com to register their school team. The other thing that's in the resource library is the in-season plans, or the in-season checklist, which is just a reminder. So the Georgia High School Association is responsible for high school tennis. And on occasion, from year to year, different things change. Dates change, when tryouts change, rules in which the coaches can communicate with the players. So this checklist is basically just a reminder to the coaches, check in with GHSA, know when your matches are going to be scheduled, the paperwork they have to go through medically, the school district requirements, the transportation, things like that. It helps them plan for, what's to come, right? The season starts or the tryouts start, and then, the train has already left the station. This is a great get yourself ready to go checklist. There's also an out of season plan and guide that is basically, it contains some tips for the coaches to give the players on staying in shape in the off season. It also shows examples from different teams all over the country of what they do in the off season, what they can do in the off season. The coach may not be able to be a part of it, but it's a great example of what different teams do to stay together and to play and to continue that team spirit sort of throughout the year. And our very own Marcy Hirschberg is in the guide for Johns Creek High School for a camp that they did. So also very useful, just another tool that they can use to make suggestions for out of season play and plans to get in shape. Outside of the resource library, we offer newsletters throughout the year. I know National does a high school coaches newsletter, which Dave will talk about in just a few minutes. We have a coach spotlight. We try to give a shout out to the high school coaches every month. Sometimes they don't like to nominate themselves, so we try to get as many in the queue as possible. It's basic job form. We ask them to upload a picture. And Lindsay, our brand manager, does a fabulous job of making them look fantastic on social media. So between the website exposure and the social media, it's just a really nice way to give a shout out and thank the high school coaches for what they do. Because in some environments, which you may be familiar, high school tennis is not really, the top sport at various high schools. So these folks really care, and they deserve a shout out, and we're thrilled to do it for them. So if you know anybody, that link is also on our website. So please share it. We'd love to give as many shout outs as we possibly can to these coaches. The other item here is our high school coaches workshop. We have done some virtually. They've been very popular. We're very fortunate that Mr. Potke is a white badge official and knows a little bit about the rules of tennis. So that's been the primary focus on a lot of them. We did a survey of the coaches. What did they really want to know and talk about? And the rules was definitely a top focus. we had an additional one that started with rules and ended up just being a general forum conversation, coaches comparing notes. We had brand new JV coaches and a couple of 25 years of experience coaches on there. So it's a great way for them to get together in sort of a workshop environment during the year when they're busy and they really can't travel to a location, right? And then also we had the COVID restrictions. So we're going to continue those schedules throughout the year. We're going to try to do one before the end of the season. I don't know how many people are going to sign up for it because they're kind of hard to get a hold of. However, we are going to record it and share it, so it makes it convenient for them to watch it at their convenience.
Hey, Jane, I'm actually a silver now, but thanks.
Oh,
Thanks
I'm
for noticing
sorry.
that. No, you're good. You didn't know that. I actually got promoted.
I forgot you. Yeah, sorry. I didn't
Thank
mean
you.
to promote you.
But happy to help.
Yes, we're in great company then, right? With the silver. So,
Well, some people don't agree, but we'll see.
well, okay, I'll talk to them. So the other resource that I think is probably one of the most valuable resources we offer is our Net Generation app. And the reason I say that is if you're a high school coach and you're out on court, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have your phone with you. If you have the Net Generation app, you can use your login that you log in to USTA.com and pull up, you can do your own lesson plans. The information from the school team manual is on there. There are some videos on there. One of the things that's, I don't know how new it is, but it seems to be pretty popular with some of the coaches, is it's called a whiteboard, but it's basically a tennis court with icons. So if you're on a court and the kids just aren't understanding your directions, for those visual learners, it's great because you can put the rackets, the balls, you can kind of show them what you want them to do right there on your app. So that's something that I think, I like to highlight that. I know some coaches are a little technologically challenged or they're not really advocates of it, but once you show them what they can access on that app, it's very impressive. So here we are, we're back to what we do with USTA Georgia. On our side of the fence, we started along with National the high school senior spotlight 2 years ago during COVID, when unfortunately many high school seniors were basically didn't have a season or had a very shortened season due to COVID-19. That has been very successful. So we've continued doing it. We just opened we just put the jot form out. Seniors can, fill out the jot form themselves, parents, coaches. Again, that link's on our website and we would really appreciate it. If you know any seniors that we can spotlight, please fill it out or please have their parents fill it out. We're going to do this probably until middle of May. And again, Lindsay's put a couple up. She's a wizard. I think they look great. I think the kids are psyched to get the shout out. So that's a little bit more about our senior spotlight. In terms of an in-person high school tennis coaches workshop, we are planning to have one at the Atlanta Open in Atlantic Station in July. We don't have a confirmed date yet, but Jackie Marks is going to come up from our national team and be the trainer. And I'm sure she's going to recruit our fabulous TSRs, Bill Dopp, Ellen Jensen, and Claire Bartlett to help us out that day. What the day looks like is coaches register. It's free to them. They come down to the tournament site. They get in early. It's about a 2.5-hour workshop. Some of it's planned, some of it's, conversational. What questions do you have? Everybody shares ideas. Once the workshop is over, they get breakfast and then they get a ticket to the day session, whatever day the workshop is held. They're courtesy of USTA Georgia and the tournament, our guest for the day to watch the professional tennis matches. We've done it in the past. And I hope this year we'll have a better attendance. So we're trying to get a date that works for a better percentage of the coaches. So more to come on that. We will share that once we have the details. And then this year, again, thank you to Darren and Amanda. I don't know if many of you are familiar with the Southern Tennis Coaches Conference that Skip Johnson has been organizing with a group of fabulous coaches. I think this year was their 34th year. And it's geared for high school coaches, and it's held in Jekyll Island, usually the second weekend in January, just before high school tryouts are able to start. So it's a great preseason thing for coaches. And this year we were fortunate enough to be able to scholarship 2 coaches to attend that workshop. Fiona and I were able to go, and I will say it was a tremendous experience. And the thing that I took away was the love that these coaches have for their teams. And when we talked to them, what they talked about wasn't necessarily winning and losing matches. It was the relationships and the confidence building, and helping these kids. Tennis is a great sport because you've got to figure out your problems all on your own, right? And just the different levels of experience, brand new coaches to coaches with years of experience. A few of the coaches had been there 34 years straight. So I think they all took away a great camaraderie of high school coaches. Afterwards, we received a picture of everyone who attended and a link to a Facebook page so that the coaches have a way to interact. And I know Dave is going to talk about the National High School Coaches Facebook page as well. So again, I think USTA is trying to do, trying to connect these folks together, and kudos to the National Committee for doing so. And I think we've got a great thing going with scholarshiping some coaches for the Southern Tennis Coaches Conference each year. The last thing I'll say is USTA National also started this last year, webinars. There were 2 last year. There was one, I believe, in March. But the next one coming up that I wanted to let you know about is May 18th. And it's the School Team Tennis Manual Overview. So if you do have any connections to high school coaches in your area, the link to register for those webinars is also on our high school tennis page. And I would say it's like 3 to 4 in the afternoon. And if they register and they can't actually watch it while it's live, they can watch the recording. So I think that would be interesting for certainly coming up. And then the others are throughout the year, 2 of which are recruiting, how to recruit players, that type of thing. They'll be coming up, I believe, in June and November, but the schedule is on the website. So.
Hey, Jane, can you see the chat, or do you want me, there's a question that came through. Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
So Mark asked, does a team registration cover all teams, or does a school need 4 separate team registrations for boys, girls, as well as boys JV and girls JV?
So great question, Mark. The coach can go in and it gives you the option of checking off the teams that you coach. So there are options there to click, boys and girls. I'll have to go back and look. I don't know if it just refers to varsity and JV, but I think there's also an other space. And if there isn't, I'll make that suggestion to national, but they can kind of cover it in one registration. And I guess if they're not the coach of all the teams, then each coach would go in and register. I know at a lot of high schools, we do have a girls varsity, a boys varsity, and then the JV coach registered as well. So hope that helps. Okay, so here's my ask. So what we're looking for and what we're asking you to do is if you could please share with us the contact information for 2 high school coaches in your area that we can connect with, we would greatly appreciate it. Or if you want to get them to register their team, that's great too. We'd like them to register to take advantage of our resources. We'd love to include them in our coach spotlight. And most certainly, we'd like them to be considered for our 2022 Southern Annual Tennis Coaches Conference Scholarship. That scholarship will be awarded sometime late October, early November. That's when the registration is for the workshop. So, please let us know. We just want to keep reaching out to the coaches, increase our distribution list. I will say our relationship with the Georgia High School Association is improving. We are going to be present this year at the state championship on May 14th in Rome, Georgia, and plan to share our tennis on campus information and give a shout out to all the coaches and players who were lucky and, earned their way to the high school championships. So if there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer. Do you see any, Amanda? Can I see?
No questions. But
Great.
will you just briefly go over what that scholarship involved for the coaches workshop?
Sure. Yep. So the scholarship involved the registration for the workshop, so the fee that covered the workshop, as well as the stay at, I'm going to call it the Jekyll Island Resort, which is beautiful. It's a lovely property. The tennis courts, I'm not going to remember the facility, but Stuart is the tennis director there. Just amazing. It was an amazing 2 days. So that we covered the hotel stay and the registration for the workshop. And I think, I have to highlight our two coaches that were our scholarship recipients this year. On the left of your screen is Rasharda Coleman. She is the varsity coach from Cross Creek High School in Augusta. And then Brian Getty sent us in the two pictures from the two teams. He coaches at Rabun County High School. And they attended, the new coaches sort of classroom sessions, which they are required to do. They sit through a panel, questions and answers with experienced coaches. Coaches are very honest about mistakes they've made. They have time after to ask questions. The experienced coaches go right to the courts. And then once the classroom sessions are done, the newer coaches get to participate in the on-court drills. So that's a little more details about our scholarship and the coaches conference. And if we're good, I will introduce Miss Julie Chapman, who has some really cool high school programs in the Columbus area. So Julie, I'll let you take it from here.
Okay, hey, I'm Julie, and I am in Columbus, Georgia, working for CORDA. And so these are 3 flyers that I use for my high school programs and leagues. So I am what you would say down in the ditches with most of y'all trying to get those high schoolers out there playing tennis. In Columbus, where like most of y'all, I'm not sure exactly what my audience is today, so hopefully you'll be able to get something out of what I have to share. We have some really good high school players. A couple of our schools do really well, like going to state, but then we also have some high schools that have, beginners, very weak players also. So trying to balance the two can be a challenge. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so I'm going to talk about 5 different programs that we have, and I'm actually going to start at the bottom with the Summer Splash and then go up to the top and work my way down. So because the Summer Splash is actually the program that I have coming up next. So it's like a league that runs during the summer. It's a singles league, and it actually does twofold. On the thing that says the focus, we just came off of high school tennis, as you know, and we focused a lot on through our outreach program of getting some of our beginner high school kids out there playing on their high school teams, like kids that had never played tennis before, coming out to some of these schools that really don't have a lot of tennis going on, and forming some teams through their high schools, and then having those kids play each other from the other schools that had never had high school teams before. So, so let's say that A school had never had a high school team and B school had never had a high school team. So we got those teams out there playing each other against each other where there was no intimidation to play each other as a school. We used that through the outreach program. We got them all shirts so that they would, feel a unity, and then they played each other. Now, the regular team schools that have, tennis all the time, they continued their season as well. So my thing is, I want those kids that played their high school season to continue to play. So I have this summer splash that I did last year where I had high school players already. So, but I never have had any 18 beginners. You never see 18 beginners signing up for anything. So this is an opportunity to take those kids from high school and bring them into a league where now they can play each other. But since they're from the outreach, they're not going to be able to pay, a lot of times for their fees. So I've put in Southern has grants right now. If anyone is interested, you can apply for up to $1,000 grant. And I'm asking for the grant to pay for all of these high schoolers to be able to play through the league and have all of their fees waived. Now, another aspect is with this league, my high level players, my 18 intermediate, my 18 advanced, 16-year-olds, etc. I get adults to join into the league, and I have some of them play adults because the juniors get tired of playing the same juniors over and over and over again. So if I say, oh, Mary, you're going to be playing Sue, then they're like, oh, I don't want to do that. I play her all the time, or she's my best friend, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure you've heard all this before. So it's like, okay, well, we're going to throw some adults in there, and then that way you're playing someone different. Then they get a little more excited because they're not playing the same people over and over again. So that worked really well last summer. And the way also with the fact it's summertime and they're out of town, they literally play the weeks, like I do it on Monday and Tuesday, they play the weeks that they actually can play tennis. I mean, if they're out of town on this Tuesday, they just don't schedule a match for that week. So that's the way the summer splash works. Then moving up to the top with this fall team tennis. And if you have any questions, I'm kind of running through these quickly. I'm trying not to take too much time. The fall team tennis, again, I'm going to move the outreach again. I want them just to realize that, tennis keeps going throughout the whole year and not just high school time of the year that you play tennis. And that, I've got some of like the 12s and 14s, realizing that. So I'm trying to get all the high schoolers to also realize you don't just play tennis during high school season. With my fall school team tennis, I only have 4 kids on a team. We play 2 singles and 1 doubles. That way we determined during our, I have a team, a junior committee that if you, it's gendered, all girls or all boys, that you can comprise more teams from more schools, and then you have more competition. And it's worked really well. So I haven't brought the high school in before, but I'm going to try it this year to keep the different ages going. So then I have this league, which I've been doing for several years now, called Match League, which is the next one down. Now, the Match League that I run, this one that you see on here from November to December, ran extremely well last year. It's just a singles league, but I advertised it to the high schoolers that this was an awesome opportunity to get you ready before the high school season started. And they came out in droves because they were like, okay, here's my chance to practice before the league started. And I had a large turnout of kids that would come and play every Tuesday, a match to prepare themselves for the league when they could, go and try out in January. It's a singles league. They sign up through a job form, and then I give them numbers that I put them in divisions, and they come out each week and they play a match. So that's basically how that works. I have all of this stuff. If anybody, my julie@corda.org, I can give you more details. The Junior Jamboree is the first weekend in February. We've been doing this for 4 years now. Again, it's for high school or advanced players. They are paired with Columbus State University that we have here. It would not have to be a college. You could do it with adults, higher level adults, but it gives them that opportunity to play again with someone different. And sometimes we do men's doubles, women's doubles, mixed doubles, and then they have an opportunity to play with someone different. And we have round robin opportunities, and then we have winners of each of the brackets, and the kids love it. It's a limited amount, and they sign up in about 5 seconds, so that they have an opportunity to participate in that. So, and then the last thing, this has not gone over too well. I'm not sure that this is even going to work this time, but I really would like this to keep us to keep working at it, is this qualifier, which is I think the problem with especially with the 18 U's is it's trying to be done right in the middle of high school season. So I think we're going to I would like to maybe move this to February so that it can be like the kickoff before the high school season starts. And I think that we would get a lot of high school teams to sign up for this, because they could use it as a kickoff to their high school teams, as like a pre-warmer to, because it is like a team event, and that you play the singles, the doubles, the mixed, and they could combine their teams as a way to practice to get ready for their high school season. And I'm talking about the Columbus Qualifier. We had 4 planned for the state of Georgia, and it's just not working. This is the first year for them to try to do this qualifier. So those are some various things that I've been doing for the last couple of years, or working to do. Working with the high school it's difficult. The kids with their friends and don't want to play them, and they're intimidating and all that. It can be difficult at times to get them out there on the courts with them. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't see any questions.
Okay.
Amanda, you see any?
Any comments? Okay.
No, Julie, I think it's great. I mean, I love the idea of the players being able to play with the Columbus State folks and the way you switch it up. I know one of the things USTA Atlanta does too for, preseason is sort of preseason. A lot of high schools use it for preseason, is the pre-collegiate league. So anything like that, I think would be great. And I agree with you on the qualifier. I know there are teams out there right now who would love the opportunity, to stick together and continue to play. So hopefully we can make that work.
We just got to figure out when to do it, because it's just like right now, my high school teams are right in the middle of playing their regions, and and it's just really bad timing. So it's just got to be reevaluated. So
yeah. I know a couple people are talking, everybody's waiting to see how the state playoffs go, for that group, and then the championships. But then I think the last one in the session is Dahlonega. So,
right.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. But thank you, Julie. Much appreciated. Yeah. And Darren, if you can flip the next slide, we will hand it over to Dave Newhart. There's some of his qualifications, not all, it wouldn't fit on a slide. So Dave, I'll let you take it from here.
Thanks, Jane. I also want to say how much we appreciate Julie being here in Columbus and all that she does to help our juniors stay involved. You know, and a lot of times after high school or before high school, they don't get involved in much. And she's got programs where they can plug themselves right in. So it works out really well. So, but good afternoon to everybody. I'll give you a little bit of a national update from the National Committee. We just had our meeting in March down in Orlando and got together and kind of got our heads together to see how we can better do what we do. Our main goal is to try to get as many people connected with the resources that the USTA has. So we do the school team coach registrations. We got that hard copy of the high school manual, which you'll get if you just, as a coach, sign up. So it's very important just to get people signed up. That's one of our main focuses, is to get as many people signed up as possible as coaches so they can have access to these resources. There's various events that are planned throughout the year. There's also a tennis venue services. Sometimes the high schools don't have access to very many courts, and this is to help with that and help with funding and get them more courts, or at least resurface courts. They're not in great shape, and other ways to help on a financial way to help them kind of get the surfaces they need to be playing on. Then there's a webinar series that is available nationally where they can get involved and take part in what is going on, and they'll have various coaches speaking and just sharing their ideas and what they do best. And also the digital update is kind of my area of the National Committee. We have not only a newsletter, but a web page that basically gives you an opportunity to see some things that are we feel are important and up to date, that are important for this time of year or season or whatever time of year we might be in. So I think the opportunity to get this information and some of the things we share on there, I'll highlight in a little bit, but it's just a chance to connect with coaches and give them the opportunity. Our focus for 2022 is going to be to get more coaches signed up, get them involved. I'll talk about ambassadors in a little bit, to get more ambassadors out there, and then just help with rules, help with ideas and suggestions. And if we go on to the next slide, I can cover some more of those things. Now, was there a question in the chat box that we need to answer? Let me see
I
here.
don't see anything. Excuse me. Waiku asked, how do we get a hard copy of the school team tennis manual? And here you are. You're at the slide that tells everyone how to do so.
So that was perfect timing.
Yes.
So I'll let you read that there, but basically the manual is available, and hard copy as well as electronic. So, and you'll see there who's eligible to get those, basically all coaches. We encourage no cut. We actually would like most of the schools that can be no cut coaches, to where they don't say, okay, we only can take this many people. And that's where some of the resources are important, and how to manage multiple kids on multiple courts. And sometimes if you only have a couple of courts, how to manage 25, 30, 40 people that come out. We don't want to discourage anybody. We want to keep everybody playing, and then going on further after that. All right, let's move on to the next slide. So you can see the metrics here in 2021, and high school coaches webinars are listed out to the side, and who was attended and how many attended and so forth. So it's very important to continue to bump these numbers up. Obviously, March was a very good month. Maybe people were in the midst of their season or preparing for their season, depending on where they were in the country, because our season is a little earlier than other seasons, and being in the South. But obviously up north, they're cold up there, and so they're still kind of coming out of the cold weather. So any questions on the webinar series and what's involved? Okay, if there is, later on I can chat with someone. All right, so this is where kind of the nuts and bolts of what my subcommittee works on. We have Stuart Dusenberry, as well as Randy Stevens from the state of Georgia that are on my committee. And we get our heads together along with Lindsay Atkinson, who is the vice chair of the overall committee. And we decide what types of things we think the high school coaches would want to have. All of us have been involved or are involved in high school coaching right now or middle school coaching. But getting coaches to register with the USTA is number one. We want to try to get them signed up so they get the information that they need. And then this will help them to receive the newsletter, as well as to be able to go to the website and look for information that could be in there. One of the things we're working on right now is archiving past newsletters. We know that the current year is up and on there, but we've had trouble trying to find a kind of hosting place for archiving these newsletters, because a lot of things we cover, we may not cover for another 3 quarters, and then you want to go back and find out what we had talked about before. So secondly, obviously wanting to get as many ambassadors. Now, ambassador basically is someone that is willing to work with the USTA and help bring more coaches to the table that can learn more about how to do what they do on a daily basis even better. And most coaches are more than willing to share in what they've learned, what they felt are best practices, how they might run a practice, and in various ways that they can get better at what they do. We also want to promote tools to help coaches get ready for their season. Like earlier in the year, we'll do an preseason play, some ideas, and we'll do a during the season and then out of season play as well. Sometimes ideas just aren't as fresh as we'd like them. So we try to provide those, get our heads together and listen to other coaches that do it on a regular basis. We'll provide some quick tips and some rules, and some things come up quite frequently that you might think are very basic, but we do a what's the call. Sometimes we don't know what the call is. If ball hits the net post and then goes in, is that good or is it not good? You know, can you hit around the net post and be a legal shot? What is a double bounce? Who calls that? You know, what are your decisions when you can't remember the score? These types of things we like to include so that when they're out there, the students through the coaches will be able to know what the decision is, and they'll be kind of together on what the rules might be. As far as our future, we're looking to add a health section, you know, that could include a trainer, how to handle CPR and first aid situations, stretching, fitness, warm-ups, and preparing for the season. Sometimes coaches will just do a general workout that they might do for football or for basketball or baseball or whatever the season may be or the sport may be, and they may not be specific to tennis. So there could be some things out there that could really help. I don't know if most of you know, but as tennis players, they think about your right arm or your left arm, which arm is your favorite arm to play with. In reality, it's your legs that get you to the ball. So most people don't warm up their legs enough and get them prepared for the season that way. So it's very, very important to cover some of these areas, so at least they have the basics to get the kids ready for the season and for the matches. Decisions about court conditions and weather, when to play, when not to. You know, if it's lightning or you just hear thunder, do you play, do you not play? When's time to go inside? How can you do matches inside? And what are ways to maybe bring your practices inside to still get some experience there? Looking to new practice ideas with some of these indoor spaces. Sportsmanship is a big area. We're collaborating with the National Sportsmanship Committee, and we'd like to continue to do that. And what would be some good ideas? One idea that our committee had come up recently, and our subcommittee as well, was trying to come up with a National Sportsmanship Award and getting the schools together. One difficulty we have is that we don't manage, sorry about the phone in the background there. I'm going to go down. Okay, so it's down now. We don't manage what the high schools do and decide to do during their season. We just going to give them ideas and support as best we can. So I think that the most important thing is to make sure that we give the ideas and then they're passed on. We talked about the what's called illustrations. I'm not sure if you can see the metrics or the KPIs down at the bottom of the page here, but these were the different kind of rates that people would click on and find out our how often people look at these things. And I'm not great on metrics, but you can see the unique opens and the different people going to those. So unless there's any questions, we'll go on to the next one. All right, so I'll talk about the ambassador subcommittee, which isn't mine, but it's very important. They created a national high school coaches Facebook hub is what they call it. And I would recommend that anybody you talk to about high school tennis or even middle school tennis, get on the Facebook hub. A lot of the information there is even more current than what we put on the website. So if you have a chance to be able to get on that hub and see what's on there, information keeps running and it's current and it's up to date and it gives you some ideas and suggestions there. A lot of coaches will then converse back and forth. And so that's a great place to be really up to date with whatever information is coming out there. There's an ambassadors and recruitment form on there as well. And you can look to that to try to see if there's someone you feel is a very outspoken high school coach that has done a really good job. We'd love to get more ambassadors. We're trying to start out with each section having an overall ambassador, and then obviously the districts, which in most states are the states, and get those people to also work together and just connect with the coaches so they can make sure they don't feel like they're on an island out there by themselves. We'd like to also encourage the senior recognition form to be filled out and get these recognized seniors so they continue on and do more playing and after high school, because there's many different avenues they can go to, from varsity tennis to tennis on campus to intramurals to even playing in leagues with the local CTAs. So we're working with the CTAs to encourage this as well. And then the calendar of high school coaches workshops that we provide. We work closely with NERSA, NRSA, which is the National High School Coaches Association. And we're working with different states and expanding into many diverse areas, including the Native Americans across the country, and trying to make sure these associations have all this information for them. Any questions on any of these topics to date? So far, we look like we're good.
Hey, Dave, it's Darren. I appreciate you taking all of our ideas to the national committee and getting them on paper. So
yes,
thank you for doing that.
Very important. And that's what we all want to do is carry our information upward. And then some of the states do it very well. Both Georgia and Florida are forward thinking, and Texas is pretty good as well. But Arizona, having our chair in that state, has also done a lot. So good stuff. And I don't know if I have another slide or not. I'm trying to remember. Yes. Okay. So our focus. We're working on a new team coach page where information will be easily assimilated to everyone. And then obviously the digital platform, and then getting more team tennis manuals out there. I think a lot of people are not aware that they're out there, and we have plenty of them. We've been giving them out at coaches conferences and things like that. So it's very important we get this out there to people. So very important. And then the high school community hub that's on Facebook, very, very important. And then online and in-person training and education. We're trying to expand this more, especially as the COVID is kind of going away a little bit more in the United States. I know the world is still struggling with some more variants out there, but we're trying to make sure we keep the opportunity to be face-to-face and get connected. I think that might be my last slide. Is that right, Jane? So I can open up to any questions too, if anybody would like to put it in the chat or jump on and ask it verbally as well. If not, I appreciate everybody's time, and let's keep pushing high school tennis, because I don't know if most of you know, but there's like 360 or 70,000 high school players in the country today. And by the time they get to adults, it's dropped off to like 10%. So we need to make sure we find plenty of places for them to play and get them involved in adult tennis. Tennis on campus is one of the great ideas where it's co-ed, and that's another way to get them into tennis. So when kids are looking at going to schools and have played high school tennis, there's a really good chance most of their schools are going to have one of those teams that they can be involved in. So we want to keep them playing, and I'm more than happy to act as a resource to get you connected with the schools that do have it. We're actually thinking of expanding right now and providing grants from USTA Georgia so that you can start some club teams at different schools that don't have them right now, or resurrect them.
That's great.
There's a couple of things in the chat. Doesn't look like the questions, so I think we're good.
Okay. Oh, good stuff. Well, that was very nice to say thank you, but thank you all for being on the presentation. Our internet, our email addresses are listed below. Please reach out with any questions. I know we're going to do our best to present tennis on campus. I have stories about high school teams that graduated, they went to college, they came back to Atlanta, and the team formed a USTA team and have been playing together for like 5 or 6 years. And wouldn't it be nice to see more things like that, right? And I know when our daughter turned 18, you know, my husband recruited her for their mixed doubles team, and they have some great memories from that. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense to have some more players incorporated into adult tennis for sure. So, well, thank you all for being on the call. Michael, I think we can turn it back to you.
Great. Jane, Julie, Dave, thank you so much. Great information. Everyone, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. I will send out an email once the video and presentation deck and a few other links or stuff are posted, so be on the lookout for that. This does conclude, this is our end of our first series. Be on the lookout. We'll be sending out some information for the second series of our virtual CTDW. But until then, take care and thank you all. Bye-bye.